Thank you for joining us today. My name's Caitlin Giles McCormick. I'm here with the NJEDA. Quick housekeeping note before we dive in to today's session and office hours. We are accepting questions throughout the presentation. We have a brief presentation that's going to kind of get things started, show you and talk about NJEDA's innovation programs and some options there. We do ask that you put any questions that you may have into the Q&A feature of Zoom. That way we can make sure to match up the answers with the right questions. Things get a little all over the place and can easily be lost in the chat. So Q&A lets us keep that information together. And we can also go through and read through those questions at the end of the session. We are recording today's session and it will be posted on the NJEDA YouTube page and the NJEDA Innovation subpage on our website as well. And I think those are the big things for today. I'm going to switch things over to Clark Smith, who's going to take you through the beginning of today's presentation. Clark?
Thanks a lot, Caitlin, and good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Clark Smith. I'm the director of the Technology Innovations Product team here. We're running now office hours on a monthly basis, so we really appreciate everyone's interest and hope you all find this very informative. What we're going to cover is at a high level some of our programs within our department, and then there's always a feature presentation with our office hours. This month it's going to be on the NOL program, which is one that is within house, but it's timely, and I'll be done by my colleague Christopher Shires. As Caitlin was noting, just quick housekeeping, we certainly would love to field questions here. Please feel free to submit them via the Q&A feature. We do ask you limit your questions to more general topics that pertain to the programs, and we'll try to address all of them at the end of the presentation. If you don't have a specific question that just pertains to your business, we ask that you just reach out to us and we'll have a more detailed one-on-one conversation with a member of the team at a later date. You can do that, just send us an email and we'll schedule one. And that goes for, not just questions on the program. If you want to learn more information on some of the programs we don't have time to get to, or take a deeper dive, or just general questions maybe about the EDA, please use us as a resource. Just reach out, reply back to the email you got or the emails that we share, and we'll get you in the right place. So starting out, I'll hop right into here. You'll see our team on the left-hand side. We have a great team on the innovation department, led by myself, Monica, who actually couldn't be here today, but Sarah and Christopher are our senior officers, Fariha is our analyst, Abdu, Suma, and Daniela are our interns. And then on the right-hand side, we have a list of our programs. We'll be running through some of these, but not all. Some are not as applicable to the general people just interested in the department, but more importantly, we just really don't have a lot of time to go into all of them, and so we just are just going to try to go through a lot on the high level just to pique your interest and to get a little bit of information to see if they really are something you can look into. So the first one that I'll touch on is the Angel Investor Tax Credit Program. This is more affectionately known as the ATC program. Now, first, this program provides a refundable tax credit on investments that are qualifying companies here in New Jersey. Refundable means that an investor will receive cash back for this credit as opposed to having to sell the credit if they wanted to get cash for it. But on a high level, companies that would be eligible for this in New Jersey, they must have at least one full-time employee, and of those employees, 75% have to be located here in New Jersey. The company has to be working on an eligible technology. There's lots of eligible technology, so it's actually easier to point out what is not really included. Companies that probably are not going to be eligible are your more traditional brick and mortar or small businesses, or a business that's just service only. But if your company is a biotech or a software company exploring advanced manufacturing or agriculture technology, hardware, those are all going to qualify. When we're talking about the types of investments that qualify, it has to be a non-refundable transfer of cash from an investor to the company. almost always we're talking about forms of equity, but some other investment types that could qualify. Well, a convertible note's not going to be eligible when you first close it, but once it converts over to equity, that could then be eligible for the program. Also, safes are really popular now. Those are usually based on the agreement at the investor's discretion to when they would want to submit an application, because they can qualify at closing or when they convert to the final form of equity. One other thing that we always like to highlight, the investor doesn't just have to be an individual or an angel investor. It's anyone that's making this transfer of cash to your business. So pass-through entities, funds, corporates, they can also look to leverage the program. Now, important here is the deadlines. Applications have to be submitted within 6 months of the date of investment, and that's fully submitted. It's a two-part application, so both the investor and the business have to have finished the online application and fully submitted it over to us for it to be reviewed. Another important aspect is that we look at all requirements, including employee requirements, at 2 times. It's the date of investment, so when the transaction closed, and the date of application submission. So pretty important to keep those in mind and when considering the program. The next program that I'll review is also a tax credit program, or what we'll call incentive programs. This is the NOL, also known but not as familiar. The formal program title is the Technology Business Tax Certificate Program, a transfer program. Even I have trouble saying it. Everyone refers to it as the NOL program. I'm just going to breeze through this one since this is what our feature presentation is, but very, very high level. NOL, this allows tech and biotechs to sell the tax offset that would be created by their NOL and R&D losses. So companies have to be not profitable, so they're not actually taxable at this time, and these losses just accrue. So we create a tax credit for that offset, which allows the company to sell the credit, transfer the losses over to a purchaser, and get non-dilutive cash back into the company. Big one here is that there's a requirement of minimum employees, not a percentage. Companies need intellectual property, and they have to be running at a loss here for the last 2 years. But we'll go on to the next program here, since NOL is going to be touched on in some more detail later. The next one is the Entrepreneur Support Program, or ESP. Now, this is a loan guarantee, or you can think of it as insurance on a convertible note or a bridge loan. The amount is 80% of whatever the note amount would be. So if we're talking about a convertible note made to your company by an investor for $100,000, well, you could get a guarantee on that note for 80% or $80,000 for 1 year. The maximum amount of guarantees is based on the actual company will provide up to $400,000 in guarantees on notes to one company. That equals out to $500,000 in loan. The loans must be at least for 1 year. They cannot have any required payment, and they must be unsecured. When we're talking about a company, half of your employee base has to be based here in New Jersey. Another important factor with this program is the guarantee is tied to the note. What does that mean? So if you close your note on the first of the month, even if the application comes in a month or 2 after you've closed the note, the guarantee is not based on our approval date. It's based on the execution date of your note. So that's important to keep in mind. But one thing about this program is we can take applications when there's a draft note and approve it, and then you could close the note and receive the guarantee, or after the note is closed. Just if it's a draft agreement, there can't be any material change from the note to when it closes. But this is an interesting program, pretty unique in the market. Especially now that the economy is still a little rocky and maybe an investor does not want to do an equity investment. Well, we have another option for that angel level investor to get a guarantee instead of maybe us participating with the company on their equity round. But our next program is our actual direct investment program. That is our angel match. So the way that this program works is we will match a company's equity round with our own standalone convertible note. We can match rounds starting at $100,000 and then go up to, on our end, $500,000. Now, the round can be larger than $500,000. We just can't go higher than the $500,000 threshold. The convertible note itself is structured as a 10-year term. It just has a fixed 3% interest rate that gets accrued and capitalized annually. Now, the note has no payments for the first 7 years. So the idea here is there's no prepayment penalties either. So if the company grows, they can repay us within that 7 years. Or if it just keeps going along strong, well, you've had 7 years to plan on the repayment of that. We match the equity round 1-to-1. The note is unsecured. The matching source can be funds, angels, corporates, but we do require that there's at least 2 investors in the round to be matched, and they have to be independent from the company, so they can't be family members or employees. There is a minimum revenue requirement for the company that's $100,000 in sales in the last 12 months. This program, again, you have to have at least half of your full-time employees based here in New Jersey. You also have to have 2 full-time founders that are working just on the startup here located in New Jersey. Some other highlighted programs that we like to point out. There's NJ Accelerate. If interested in that, please can contact us. That is with, right now we have 10 active accelerators, and the benefit goes to our accelerators. They can leverage a sponsorship to have events here in the state. Then their graduates can leverage either a rent or investment benefit if they locate their business within the state. Some other programs. It's all right. Some other programs that we have that are not in our department, but you should certainly take a look at NJ Founders and Funders. That's our investor introduction event. It's run semi-annually. The last one was a week or 2 ago, so we'll be looking to having another one in the fall. Golden Seeds is a angel investment group with which there's a New Jersey chapter. They focus on investments for companies that have a woman within the C-suite. Evergreen Fund is for companies a little further along, but with this, we have a funding source where venture capital firms can tap twice a year this fund to get capital to go into their New Jersey investments. We also have some specialized VCs out there where we've made commitments to that are looking for New Jersey deals. That's the Black and Latino Seed Fund, the SETI Fund, Life Science Fund. So there's a lot of VCs out there that are also looking for New Jersey companies to invest in, since we have given them capital to invest. In our clean energy world, there's the Clean Energy Loans Program. That's project financing. Think if you have a parking lot and you want to throw EV chargers in here, well, this is a financing source to put those types of projects into action. NJ is a tax credit for small businesses with fleets to switch over their fleets from ICE, so gas vehicles, to electric vehicles. Think of, small plumbers that have 10 trucks. They can replace 5 of them with electric vehicles, come to NJ and get a credit for that. But the one group that's outside of the EDA, to an extent, that you should really check out is the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology, or CSIT. Now, this is the state's main R&D level grant-making group. They do seed grants. They have a voucher program. So if you're looking to utilize a shared resource at like one of our institutes of higher learning, you could go to the voucher program and get a grant that could help defray cost of using those shared resources. If you're getting SBIR grants for the NIH, they usually will have a program that can match that. Some upcoming programs from an industry vertical that I know is soon to be launched is in the infant and maternal health space. They'll have an R&D grant, and then they usually have a lot that focus in the clean energy space. So with that, I think that's my last one until we jump over into the NOL world. So Christopher, if you want to pick on up and go take our deeper dive here into NOL.
Great, thank you, Clark. Normally we have guest speakers external to the organization, but because we're in what I affectionately refer to as NOL season, we're going to explain the NOL program in a bit more detail. So again, the program is for companies that have negative operating income, and They can apply for all prior years of negative operating income. There are specific rules around the definitions for technology and biotechnology. If you're in that space, you're going to be able to demonstrate to us that you're meeting the eligibility requirements. As Clark mentioned, there is a minimum number of employees that have to be full-time employees. We define that as 35 hours a week, working 80% of the time at the base of operations in New Jersey. The caveat is that Pennsylvania residents, because of the tax treaty, are not included in that head count. The formula is less than 3 years of operation, 1 full-time employee, between 3 and 5 years of operation, 5 full-time employees, more than 5 years of operation, 10 years, or 10 full-time employees. And the consideration is when you were founded, not when you actually began your operation. So if you incorporated in 2012, but didn't actually start business until 2021, you have been 10 years since your founding. You have no more than 224 full-time employees in the US. This is a program that requires intellectual property. I'll get into that. And then your CPA prepared financial statements according to US GAAP standards. When we say taxable corporate structure, it's because if, for example, you are an LLC or an S Corp and losses are passed back to the owners, they're not the beneficiaries of the program. The company as an applicant would be, and if you applied and you got a certificate, it would have zero value because there are no losses because they've been passed through. The purpose of the program, obviously, is to allow you to take advantage of the fact that you have these accrued losses. And if you're looking at needing to have cash today to sustain and scale your operations, you can sell that tax offset. Companies have a lifetime cap, 20 million. We have bookmarked or earmarked 15 million of the total 75 for companies with the base of operations in an innovation zone or opportunity zone, or that are certified with the state of New Jersey as minority or women business enterprises. It's 25th year of the program. It's as far as I understand, the oldest, longest continuous program at the EDA. Served over 580 companies have benefited, and over 1.95 billion with a B tax credits have been issued. So you can understand that this program has been very supportive of helping small businesses to get through the growth curves successfully by selling those future tax losses for cash today. Now, the intellectual property. Protected proprietary intellectual property means that you have a patent or patent pending. You're using that patent or patent pending for commercial purposes. It's what you're doing as a business. You can have an exclusive license to a patent, and exclusive means global. Exclusive license to commercialize a technology. This is usually through universities, but there are other times that you may go to a larger pharmaceutical company, as an example, and obtain a license on something that's off the shelf there. A copyright registration, again, this is typically with software because it's filed with the U.S. Library of Congress, so that's something that's possible. It's uncommon, but it's possible. The protected intellectual property can't be expired, so it can't be a patent that's now no longer valid. So your financial statements are prepared by an independent CPA. They are done by US GAAP standards. I emphasize that because there are times where people send us in tax statements or QuickBooks, and that's not an independent CPA prepared financial statement. And if, for example, if you're a subsidiary of an overseas company, that company still has to also provide their financial statements according to US GAAP. This program year is about 15 months, in the sense that in early January, we start looking at any tweaks or changes that have to be made, updating the website, et cetera. The application goes live, usually May 1st, and it's went live May 1st this year as well. The consideration is the application has a very hard deadline by statute of June 30th. And what that means is that we cannot accept any new information after June 30th. We can accept what we call clarifying information. And that is a nuance. It's important. But if, for example, you tell us you have employees living in New York City and your base of operations is in Camden, you can clarify that they are in fact working 80% of the time in your base of operations by providing, for example, easy pass statements or key card passes to show us that they're there. There is a really very thorough due diligence process. June, it starts cursory review of whatever has been submitted already, but then July and August is deep dive. We have a number of people who look at everything, including legal reviews. Then we go to the board. We target that for September. Last year, it happened to be October because of the volume of applications and the complexity of applications. There's an appeals process for companies that have been declined, but believe that they should be eligible, and that goes to the board for appeals. After that is finished, then tax certificates are issued, and the companies that are issued the certificates sell them to an unaffiliated profitable entity paying taxes in New Jersey, and they sell them at a discount. The discount, just for clarity, is statutory floor of 80 cents on the dollar. The average historical price is around 90 cents on the dollar. So if you have $1 million of losses accumulated, times 0.09, your tax, times 0.9, and you get approximately $81,000 back in cash to sustain and scale. Here you can see that the companies, it varies year by year, but we are coming close to that $75 million cap, and we're looking forward to achieving that. So this is something that I'm hoping that if you are eligible, you reach out to get additional information and you get your application in on time. I will let you read the testimonial. We have many. This one is the one that I like in the sense that they say, apply, right? And that's something that you should do if you are a biotech or a tech company with negative operating income and you have the intellectual property, you meet the employer requirements. One more caveat, you have to add offer health insurance to your employees. Thank you. We normally say this is how we conclude our prepared remarks, and then we're going to turn it over to the team to let us know what your questions are. Again, company-specific questions, specific situations should be taken offline because this is recorded and will live on the internet forever. So, Caitlin, if you would like to be able to let us know what the questions are.
Yes, I'm just going to pull those up real quick. All right. And I would just advise and want to point participants again to that Q&A feature where you can write in your question. We may need some clarification. This first question, I'm not sure exactly which program it's referring to, but it's asking, does the 75% refer to worker presence or employees living in New Jersey?
Sure. So when we're talking employees, at least in our world, by the programs in our department, it's usually not speaking to residency. It's speaking to a location where they're actually working. So the devil's in the details with all of these programs. Requirements are similar, but not the same. 75%, depending on the program, could just mean people that are receiving compensation for your company, whether it's sweat equity, 1099, or W-2. Then if we're talking about like our tax credit programs, and namely, I'm thinking this is probably in reference to ATC, given that 75%. Employees that qualify are actual ones that are receiving W-2 income, namely, because the devil in the details of the definition is they have to be receiving compensation that's subject to New Jersey income taxes. So yeah, that's when we're taking a real deep dive, getting a little more specific, right? But it's not residency, it's that they're working in New Jersey and getting compensated in New Jersey. Now, again, in some programs, namely NOL, there might be a carve out that some residents wouldn't count, The most frequent one for NOL is Pennsylvania residents. Again, devil in the details. These are legislatively driven, but New Jersey and Pennsylvania have a reciprocal tax agreement together. So technically, residents of Pennsylvania don't pay New Jersey income taxes. It doesn't come into play in ATC because the rule specifically carves out so Pennsylvania people can participate. So.
Great, thank you. Another one from Felicia. It's for the Entrepreneur Support Program. I'm looking to offer this as an opportunity for my friends and family around. Do my investors have to be companies or can they be individuals? How do I explain the value of this for my friends and family?
Yeah, sure. So it can be individuals. Actually, it's more frequently individuals than it is companies. I would say the value for folks that are not as versed in financial products, it's like insurance. So it's an 80%, it's insurance on the note or loan. It's 80%. So if it was $100, the insurance is $80 of that note. What we probably don't want to talk about, but is a reality in business. Businesses fail. So there is liquidity provisions for the company. So if the company goes out of business or doesn't have a certain level, a certain threshold of revenues or cash to repay, the investor can then trigger within the year that guarantee. They'll take a haircut. So instead of getting their $100 returned, they only get $80 returned. And then the EDA assumes the underlying note and then would work with the business to figure out how the note would get repaid. The reality is most of these investments are from investors that really believe in the company. So, it's only in the worst case scenario that they would be triggered, but it gives a little bit of reassurance. If the note or loan gets extended past 1 year, well, the guarantee ends, but the underlying debt will still exist. Same thing if it converts. There is a slight warrant coverage if it becomes equity during that time. But if it's after the year and converts, the guarantee is over.
Wonderful. The next question is asking to please explain the 5 to 1 or the 1 to 5 to 10 requirements for the full-time employees once again.
Yeah, so that's with NOL. Unlike most of the other programs where we're looking to establish, are you a New Jersey company based off of a percentage of your employees here? NOL is actually a little different. It's a minimum number of employees here in New Jersey, which I think makes the program pretty unique and applicable to a wider swath of businesses. Some companies that really have the bulk of their employees out of state and maybe don't consider themselves a New Jersey company. Let's say, we have a biotech, it's in Boston, they have 20 scientists in New Jersey. Well, they should take a look at this program if they're paying, if they are filing New Jersey CBTs, because they could leverage it. Now, the 1, 5, and 10 breakdown is that minimum number of employees here in New Jersey. It's tied to years in existence. So, right, like if you came right out of the gate to New Jersey as a corporate, the date on your cert of incorporation is going to start that timeline. Same thing if you were an LLC, we would look at the documentation for your business structure to start that timeline. If you're applying to the program within 3 years, the minimum amount of New Jersey employees that you'd be required to have is 1. If you're within 3 to 5 years of that formation date, you'd need to have at least 5 full-time New Jersey employees. And then once you get past 5 years, you're looking at a minimum number of 10 employees here in New Jersey.
Great. Can you repeat what was said about the formula to get to $81,000?
I'm thinking that's probably on regarding ESP. So it's a 80% guarantee. So whatever your loan amount is, we'll guarantee 80% of that amount, the principal. So, if we're saying $100,000 loan was extended to the company or a convertible note, the guarantee amount there would be $80,000.
So just in case that was regarding the Angel Tax Credit Program, your corporate tax rate is 9%, and you're going to sell at a discount the certificate. The average price is 90 cents on the dollar. So the hypothetical scenario is $1 million of losses. Tax certificates available to be sold. The face value is $1 million times 0.09, then times 0.9, and the million becomes $81,000.
Yeah,
that's an average expectation.
Yeah, I think Christopher, you said ATC, but yeah, NOL. Yeah, but that's actually a pretty good question, and thanks for jumping in there, Christopher, because that is a common misconception with NOL. It's the offset to taxes, not the actual loss amount. So yeah, what Christopher was saying, like if your loss was that, $1 million, our New Jersey tax rate is 9%. So it's that 9% of the losses that you'd look to sell. But they sell it, the buyer wants to purchase them at a discount. And typically we set a floor, I believe at 75 or 80 cents on the dollar. So that's where the number is coming from. What you would expect to get from it. It's not the actual loss amount. It would be the tax amount would be at a discount.
Okay. I think this is a follow-up to the earlier question in regarding to family and friends investment. Do my family and friends have to be investments to use entrepreneurial support, or can they be loans from the start?
Typically, if it's an individual, they're going to structure it as some sort of note. We would always have to just take a look at the agreement ahead of time to really suss out eligibility there. But the main requirements is that it has to have a maturity of at least 1 year. It has to be unsecured, so no collateral, and there can't be any requirement for the company to pay it within a year.
Okay. So to probe into that a little bit more, and I apologize if this has been answered, but as an additional point, can I present the entrepreneur support program as a loan that is secured 80% by NJ, or do they have to be giving me an investment?
It's not a loan. We're guaranteeing a third party's loan. The EDA is not extending any money via entrepreneur support.
Great, thank you. How do I get assistance in applying for the federal and NJ matching SBIR grants and funding? Yeah,
please send us an email. But the group itself is the Commission on Science, Innovation, and Technology. They go more frequently in the market by CSIT or CSIT. And I'm almost 100% positive it's njeda.gov /CSIT. We'll get you to them. But yeah, we're sending out, I should have mentioned this in the beginning. We also, anybody that's registered, will send out this presentation via email. You can reply back, and we'll also put out the websites. You can email CSIT at csit@njeda.gov. Oh, and it popped up. I was right. njeda.gov /CSIT is their main landing page.
Wonderful. Does the company need to be incorporated in New Jersey or have a minimum requirement for the NOL?
Incorporated, no. So most programs don't require New Jersey be incorporated. Here in our state, you could be like a Delaware C. That's the most common. But you do have to be registered to do business with the state of New Jersey. And this isn't an eligibility requirement, but we always give this heads up. So you have to be filing corporate business tax returns in New Jersey as a C Corp, or else you won't have benefits accrued. So a common thing that happens is companies, I think Christopher was touching on this, companies are structured as LLCs and may even be filing tax returns here in New Jersey, but LLCs don't accrue losses. They pass their losses through to their investors. So you can meet all of the eligibility requirements for the program and be approved, and then Treasury will come back to us and say they have no benefits because all their losses have been passed through. So yeah, you don't have to be incorporated here in New Jersey, but you do need to be a tax filer in the state. And then for other programs, beyond being registered to do business, you typically will need to get what's called a tax clearance from Treasury, which is an official document from Treasury to another state agency that verifies that the company is in good standing and doesn't have outstanding liabilities with the state.
Are any of the programs providing grant funding where it is not required to pay the funding back, or is all the money at some, yes. So are there any programs that are simply grant funding and not just loans?
So in CSIT, most of their programs are grants. In our world, there are a couple grant programs. The big one is the rent portion that's tied to NJ Accelerate. So no, the other programs are all direct investment, structured as notes that would require repayment, and tax credits don't require payment either.
Is there a match for DOE grants for CSIT? Does that make sense to you?
So department, you'd have to speak with the folks at the commission. I'm not, I would think that probably the DOE ones would qualify if they're structured underneath that envelope of like SBIR, STTR, especially if it's a clean energy program. But the devil in the details would be via their each program there, and have to investigate. So,
okay. There's one last question. So if anybody else has any that are that you may want to submit, go ahead and submit those now in the Q&A. But the last question currently there is, we have a patent and pharma interest. Can we receive a grant or an investor for legal fees and manufacturing costs?
Yeah, we don't have a program that's directly structured for that. Again, we don't have many grant programs to begin with. And then our investment programs are tied with equity investors in the company.
All right, and then one more did come in. I have a friend who wants for $5,000 to our company as a loan. Will this qualify for the NJ entrepreneur support if it fits the criteria with maturity of a year, unsecured, no requirement to pay back within a year?
I mean, on its surface, it sounds like it, but we would have to take a deeper dive to see what actually the agreement and structure is. And then there's more that goes into it, like the structure around the business when we're talking about full eligibility for the program. But yeah, on a high level, just around the loan itself, you know, it sounds like it's on the right track.
Wonderful. Oh, I know somebody snuck. Okay. All right. I think that is it for the questions.
Okay, well, thanks a lot, Caitlin, for referring those over. Yeah, and again, I would say, you know, we really are just covering these programs on a high level, so folks hopefully can get an idea if these are things that would work for them, or if they should move on to maybe another area of the EDA. I'd encourage you to, if some of these are maybe not your fancy or not thinking like they apply to your business, please explore or reach out to us, and we'll even point you in the right direction around our small business group. A lot of businesses that maybe are not in the right wheelhouse for our programs, the small business team can better address those. But yes, please, if you have any further questions or want to take a deeper dive on any of these programs, just reply back to our email or reach out directly to us, and we'll get on the calendar some time, and we can discuss them in greater detail.
All right. And then one more that just snuck in, are there more accelerators available?
So the list of accelerators is on the webpage. So companies will need to apply to the accelerators and be accepted. And it's for the graduates of the program, of the approved accelerator programs.
All right. And if you have any other closing remarks, if not, I think we're good to go.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.